X and his mom want me to unteach my 6-year-old daughter boundaries. I recently taught my daughter, Kiddo, how to say no to unwanted physical contact. I said she should start with a clear, "do not touch me," and if they persist, she can raise her voice accordingly and hold out her arms in front of her so as to keep them away without harming anyone. It was meant to be used on a boy at school, but after it worked on him, my daughter extended her use of it to the GP, the teaching assistant, random people in the store, and her father, holding out her arms and yelling, "Do not touch me," when anyone comes too close. I am the only person she will let hug her without hesitation. In the last week, I've been trying to teach Kiddo that some physical contact is all right. The GP has to give her shots. The TA has to patch up her knee when she falls and scrapes it. People are always going to accidentally bump into her in public, and so on. And Kiddo has gone from overusing what I taught her on everyone she meets to using it more selectively, only when she really doesn't want to be touched. Kiddo's father, X, doesn't see her a lot. He travels a lot for work and is gone for long periods of time, but he owns a permanent residence in town, so when he's in town, Kiddo stays with him every other week. He's in town for the next month and came by a week ago to have his week with Kiddo and went in for a hug, but when she wouldn't let him touch her, X asked to speak to me outside, where he accused me of telling Kiddo to refuse to greet him, and he left, annoyed and without Kiddo. X came by today to try for his week again. He goes to hug her. Kiddo says she doesn't want him to. He tries anyway, and Kiddo runs to me and hugs me instead. X looks even more upset. He asks if we can talk outside, and I follow him out. X bursts into tears, saying he can't believe it's gotten to the stage where Kiddo won't even hug him. I tell him that it's her choice, to which he replied that it's easy for you to say, as she is fine with me touching her. He asked me if I could do something about this, and I said I'd reassure her, but that was it. We went back inside. Kiddo stands next to me immediately. X holds out his arms for Kiddo to hug him, and Kiddo hugs me instead. I said, "It's just your dad, Kiddo. You don't have to hug him if you don't want to, but it's just your dad. He loves you, and he's looking forward to spending the week with you, because he hasn't seen you in ages." Kiddo shakes her head and hugs me tighter. X looked decimated and tells me he'll be back shortly. X apparently went for backup, because within an hour he's back with his mother. His mum never liked me, as X and I were only ever casual, and I refused to get married when we found out Kiddo was incoming. X actually refused too, but she wasn't upset by him refusing. X's mum immediately goes to hug Kiddo, who does the "do not touch me" thing. X's mum, who barely ever sees Kiddo because she doesn't like me, immediately starts crying. She lives a 20-minute drive from my house, and I gave her an open invitation to stop by for a visit. She's just never taken me up on it. X's mum then accuses me of basically turning her granddaughter against her and X, and demands I make Kiddo hug her. I tell her that it's not up to me. Both X and his mother leave eventually, but not until after they try and force Kiddo to hug them more than once each. This is also now the second week in a row where X missed visitation, as Kiddo simply wouldn't go with him. We have a legally enforceable custody agreement saying he gets every other week when he's in town. I can't reprimand Kiddo for having boundaries, and I can't let them boundary stomp, but the situation feels like it can only get worse. I want her to have these boundaries, and I feel like I've already asked her to compromise the boundaries she set for herself when I told her that people like the TA and GP should be able to touch her. But she literally won't let her dad or grandma within 5 feet of her without her holding out her arms and yelling, "Do not touch me." This is not only messing up her relationship with her father and his side of the family, but it could be putting me in a precarious position, legally, as the custody agreement says every other week, and this is now the 3rd week running of him not looking after her. What do I do? Edit. Kiddo was totally willing to spend some time with her dad and was actually excited about it. She just didn't want to be hugged. Then he tried to hug her immediately, pushed the issue. When we left the room to talk, he raised his voice to me, which Kiddo told me she heard, and that seems to have freaked her out. And then he left and came back with Xmill, who sees Kiddo maybe 3-5 times a year, and also pushed her to hug her. So at the start of the meeting, Kiddo would have happily gone with her dad, but then all of that happened, and she was less willing. I didn't stop her going with him. He just left without her the first time, and then the second time, he and Xmill left without her. At no point did I say she couldn't go or prevent her going with him. He just left. Kiddo has a thing about hugging in general. Issues she may have with touching have been more heightened since I told her about the "do not touch me" thing. But even before that, she didn't really like being hugged, and I'd caught her sort of grimacing through hugs before, and she's told me that the issue with hugs is that they are too much. She used "do not touch me" on relatives of mine who usually hug her, and now there are only 2 people other than me she hugs, and everyone else gets a high five, fist bump, handshake, or just a verbal and non-physical greeting. For people asking about their contact normally, they FaceTime, maybe 3 or 4 times a month, about once a week. Either he messages me asking if he can talk to her, to which I always say yes, unless she's at school/asleep/not with me, at a friend's house. And if it is one of those times, I offer an alternative time. Whenever Kiddo asks to speak to her dad, I message him asking when he can text/call/FaceTime with her. They both prefer FaceTime, and when they get on it, they're usually talking for at least an hour, most of the time closer to 2. Update: I'm going to message him. My draft as it stands is, "Hi X, what happened today was less than ideal, to say the least. I taught her to do that to deal with a boy at school who made her hug him, and when it worked, Kiddo applied it to other areas by herself. And when I saw her doing that, I saw it as putting in boundaries, which felt like a really good thing, so I encouraged her. However, I've spent the time since trying to get her to dial it back and help her judge situations before jumping straight to what you saw today. Me showing her how to do this and talking to her about it has revealed that she does not like hugging in general. And I've realized that Kiddo also dislikes tapping and her hair being ruffled. But she likes high fives, handshakes, fist bumps, and similar light and quick physical touches. She does hug some people, but she is usually the one to initiate and break the hug. This, combined with her dislike of strong perfumes and the headaches she gets with bright colors, makes me wonder if this is a deeper sensory issue. But there's also a chance this is all just a phase she's going through, and she'll grow out of it. I think Kiddo would benefit from seeing a professional, but we are co-parents, so I'm not making any plans without your input. I know it must have hurt when she said that to you, and I am sorry that she used it on you, but I promise you that other than showing her the method and teaching her about bodily autonomy in general, I haven't knowingly done anything on my end to lead to everything that happened with the both of you earlier. I am sorry that my actions lead to that, and I swear I will do everything in my power to encourage your relationship with her, as it's important to all 3 of us that you are in her life, and she loves you, and I would never want to take away from that. Kiddo does still want to see you, and she's excited to be with you, as she missed you while you were gone. If you still want your week with her, then I can drop her to your place tomorrow, or you could come here and get her. If you want to meet somewhere else, we can do that too. Totally your call, whatever works for you. Update 2. X got the text, thanked me, and apologized for bringing in Xmill. He apparently rang her the first time it happened to tell her what had gone on, and she responded to try again next week, and if it happens again, she'd help him talk to Kiddo, which is why he went to get her. He seems to think that Xmill is here all the time when he's away, as Xmill seems to have told him that, which is just a blatant lie. IDK how she thought Kiddo and me would both go with it. He agrees that while the situation isn't ideal, it's something she needed to learn, and says that while he's still upset, he's sure one day he'll look back and laugh. He agrees that seeing the GP or therapist, or both, is a good idea, and we're going to sort out appointments ASAP, and either we'll all go together or he'll take her. She's at his place right now for her week with him, but we agreed that as he missed last week, we can make it 2 weeks this time. When I brought her over, he greeted her with a high five,